But let's get back to it. Honored again to reintroduce the mega talented, the very important, the Bloomberg exposing Benjamin Dixon.
I'll take that one. Mike, if I'm not remembered for anything else, I am totally cool with peaking at putting a dent in Michael Bloomberg's campaign. Like, I'm cool. Like, if I don't do anything else, we did that, and we haven't stopped them. There's a lot more work to do, but we certainly did not allow him to go to the Nevada debate without having to answer for all the things that he had to answer for.
Well, I think in your first section, we won't redo it because people, folks did hear. Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of this is out there just for people to kind of actually engage in and look at. And we're talking on a whole terrain of issues. I mean, just as he can micro-program a propaganda campaign on every channel because of his wealth, we can hit him back on everything from racism to, frankly, I'm totally comfortable. If he wants to talk about guns, you know what? I'm frankly comfortable saying, you know what? Yes, we're moderate on guns. You're an extremist who terrorized people of color and got nothing done.
Right.
And we have a campaign of common sense proposals that actually might appeal to a broad swath of the country. Regardless of that, or maybe in addition to that, do you think when you look at, I want you to talk about just how unique a threat Bloomberg is. And I want to contextualize it, not by getting into this, very boring, old, tired, like, will you support the Democratic nominee or not? And because that to me is a very boring conversation, to be honest.
Right.
I have slightly, my view on that is a bit different than it was in 2016. But regardless, Mike Bloomberg is something different. Yeah. In my opinion. And I'll get to that in a second. But first of all, do you agree with that when we talk about Bloomberg, we start getting into a completely different set of questions about really the nature of where our democracy's at?
No, absolutely, man. I'm late to the party. I sat on the sidelines as long as I could in this race before I even endorsed Bernie from my platform, as small as it is, because I wanted to make sure that we had the unity that we needed to defeat Donald Trump, because I felt like Donald Trump was a unique threat. Enter in Michael Bloomberg. I feel like Michael Bloomberg is a greater threat to democracy, small d democracy, than Donald Trump. And I think Donald Trump is an imminent threat. I feel like we have to do whatever we have to do, politically speaking, to get him out of office. But I feel like a billionaire stepping down from his throne, right, to come and seize democracy from us in order to make sure that he doesn't have to spend $3.56 billion every year in a wealth tax. And that's just for Elizabeth Warren. So imagine what he's going to be spending with Bernie Sanders, right? That's the context that I think everyone has to look at this in. This has nothing. Michael Bloomberg is not trying to stop Donald Trump. Michael Bloomberg is trying to avoid paying about $14 billion in taxes over the first term of either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. So I think he's a unique threat because he's shown that there's so much propaganda that has been drenching the minds of people who consume mainstream media that they are willing to accept one racist Republican oligarch over the next. And I think that is a unique problem to our democracy. So long story short, in 2016, I would be like, in 2020, I wanted to be like, listen, I want Bernie Sanders, but if Amy Klobuchar gets it, I would still vote, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not voting blue no matter who with the Republican oligarch. There's just no way in the world.
And because we can't, I guess what I'm saying, because we can't, like Matt Karp said on my show recently, that even as much as, and I'm not at that point, particularly in New York, I'm very clear that, I frankly wouldn't vote for any of them besides Bernie, frankly. Right. But this is not a moral statement. Understanding the difference on a material level of even the worst Democrat, a Hillary Clinton, a Joe Biden, a Klobuchar, a Buttigieg, and recognizing, though, that these are still individuals that represent the corporate oligarchic wing of a complex political project versus the unmitigated oligarchy itself.
Exactly, man. Like this guy has stepped down. The ruling elite, the ninth wealthiest person in this country, he has stepped down from his pantheon of billionaires, right? And graced us with his presence in order to preserve himself because he doesn't believe that the corporate wing of the Democratic Party is capable of stopping what the masses, what the unwashed masses are demanding. And so he's saying, I'll do it myself. Like he really saw himself as some type of omnipotent being who can just come down and seize this with his money, with his pocket change, man. That's the thing that gets me about this dude is he's doing all this with his pocket change. He's not going to miss any of this money that he's spending. He is the essence. Now, he's not quintessential. He is the very essence of everything that we fight against as progressives and ostensibly as Democrats. But what's being exposed is that the last 40-year experiment with neoliberalism and trickle-down economic theory that has drenched the Democratic Party is actually far deeper than we ever imagined because they're willing to turn this thing over to someone who's going to do just on economic policy. He's going to be exactly what Donald Trump is, if not worse. And so it just tells me that it shows that the Democratic Party is corrupt to its core in terms of economic policy. And if they nominate this guy, even if it's a seizure, like if this guy manages to win by sheer virtue of his money, then that should be the very end of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that means we're done. And as a final part, or we're not done, but I would say we're really done with electoral politics. That's when the whole terrain of these conversations actually have to shift in a real way to what does it look like when you're organizing outside of that electoral vehicle. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.